Did we get the first two right? Yeah?
I think I got number 6.
Not quite. You shouldn't get, is that a decimal? You shouldn't get decimals.
So what do you want me to turn it?
It shouldn't be a decimal. 72 divided by 9 isn't a decimal. So we're going to look at number 6. Did we get number 4 okay? Yeah? Mm-hmm. Did we get number 5? Everybody get number 5? Yes? Okay, let's do number 6. So how do we get the calculator to help us with number 6? We hit the math button. Okay, press the math button, go over to the number column, and press number 9. Okay, so we're going to look for the GCF between 72 and 81. And the GCF between 72 and 81 is 9. Okay? And then between u to the 4th and u to the 2nd, what is smaller? U to the 2nd is smaller. Okay? And then between v to the 2nd and v to the 5th, what is smaller? V to the 2nd. Okay. All right, so now we're going to do 72 divided by 9. 72 divided by 9 is 8. Okay. We had 4 u's. We took out 2 of them. So 2 are left over. We had 2 v's. We took out 2 of them. Wait. Had 2 v's, took out 2 of them? None are left over. Okay. Next piece. 81 divided by 9 is 9. Okay. We had 2 u's. We took out 2 of them. None are left over. We had 5 v's. We took out 2 of them. 3 are left over. We are done. That was it.
Does it matter? Because I put at 9 and I put v to the 2nd and u to the 2nd.
It doesn't matter. It is common to put them in alphabetical order.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. But you're not wrong if you don't. Yeah. Okay. Let's go ahead and get out our assignments from yesterday. If you turned it in, you got to go get it back out. I'm sorry. So the assignments from yesterday, the worksheet from yesterday that we were working on, and if you turned it in, you got to go get it. So let's start with number 1. The numbers are kind of big, but there's no GCF here. So let's just remember what we did yesterday. So you can look at the front side if you need to. You can look at your notes if you need to. How do we do the type of factoring we did yesterday where there's a number in the front? We multiply it. We slide it over. Because this method, if there's a number in the front, remember we call it slide divide. Some people call it slide divide bottoms up. Okay, so we slide this number over to the number on the end. And if we slide a 33 to a 7, what's 33 times 7? Whew, okay, negative 231. So we are looking for 2 numbers that multiply to negative 231 and add to 10. 2 numbers that multiply to negative 231 and add to 10. How can we use the calculator to help us do that? Not the GCF. Anyone remember from yesterday how the calculator can help us? Y equals, I'm going to type in negative 231 divided by x. Graph. Okay, so I'm looking for 2 numbers that multiply to negative 231 and add to 10. I'm ignoring all the decimal pairs. Negative 7 and 33 doesn't do it. Ignoring decimals. Oh, I found it. Anybody else find it? What are the numbers? Negative 20 or negative 11 and positive 21. Negative 11, positive 21. Okay. So once I have the 2 numbers, what do I do? Okay, so x minus 11, x plus 21. Okay? Yeah, I divide it by the number that I slid. So I slid a 33, so I'm going to divide by 33. Okay? Now, these fractions are a little bit bigger than some of the ones we were dealing with yesterday, so I'm going to show you how your calculator can reduce the fractions for you. So if we type the fraction into the calculator, it will just automatically reduce it. So if you want to type a fraction into a calculator, you type the green button, alpha y equals. So hit alpha y equals, and then we're going to press enter. So the first option is what we want. So if I press alpha y equals and then enter, the fraction is negative 11 over 33, or you could just type in 11 over 33. The sign won't make much of a difference to reducing it. And so it says that the reduced version is negative 1/3. So I'm going to write the reduced version. Okay. And then 21 over 33, so I'm going to do alpha y equals over here, 21 over 33. And the reduced version for that is 7 over 11. So we have x plus 7 over 11. So a lot of times, one of our fractions will become a whole number when we reduce it, but that didn't happen for this problem. So once we reduce the fractions, if they stay fractions, what do we do?
Take it to the edge.
Mm-hmm. And what's that step called? Do you remember?
Bottoms up.
Bottoms up. So the bottom moves up to the front. The bottom moves up to the front. And so this would be 3x minus 1 for the first parenthesis, and 11x plus 7 for the second parenthesis. The answer is D. Okay, so number 1, at the very bottom, number 1 would be D. Okay. Now, the rest of these problems... Huh? Did you turn it in yesterday? There are not any more left. No? So it should be in the second stack, not the one on the very left, but the second stack. Okay. Yeah, go ahead and do it from here for now. And then when we start to work on it, I'll just put it up from Google Classroom. And you can do it on a separate sheet of paper. That's fine. Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And go ahead and put your earbuds in prison. Thank you. All right. So the rest of the problems all have a GCF. They're still slide divide, but they all have a GCF before their slide divide, which is going to make the rest of them a little bit more difficult than yesterday, but not like crazy difficult. So the best way to figure out what the GCF is, because if you guys remember from the other day, with the GCF, we can only find the GCF between two numbers. We can't do it with three. So the best way to find the GCF is to look at the two biggest numbers in the problem and try to find the GCF of the two biggest numbers, okay? So for number 2, we're going to look at the 38 and the 16. So I'm going to hit the math button. I'm going to go over to number, hit number 9, and I'm going to look for the GCF between 16 and 38. And then once you find the GCF of the biggest numbers, you're going to see if that GCF works with the smallest number in the problem as well. So the GCF here is 2. That's what it says. And 2 definitely goes into 12. So we're going to take out a GCF of 2 to do this problem. Okay. So once we take out the 2, 16 divided by 2 is 8. Okay, so we have 8x squared. Okay. 38 divided by 2. No, it's 19. 38 divided by 2 is 19. Yep. And 12 divided by 2 is 6. Okay. Okay, I'm going to leave that one because this is a pretty nice problem. So let's try finding the GCF of another one. Okay. 52 and 120 are the biggest numbers in problem number 3. So I'm going to find the GCF of 52 and 120. So I'm going to hit the math button, go over number 9. So 52 and 120, 4. And then I'm going to check with the smaller number. Does 4 go into 12? Yes. So 4 is a good GCF for this problem. Okay? 12 divided by 4 is 3. 3x squared. Okay. 52 divided by 4 is 13. 120 divided by 4 is 30. Okay. Okay, those look like some good numbers, so let's try the next one. Let's take the GCF out. All right, what numbers are we going to type into the calculator? Okay, so I'm going to hit the math button, go over to number, hit number 9, 108 and 30. It says the GCF is 6. Now I'm going to check the smaller number. Does 6 go into 6? Yes. Okay, so I'm going to take a GCF of 6 out. Okay, what is 108 divided by 6? 108 divided by 6. 18. 18x squared. What is 6 divided by 6? Just 1, so we got 1x. And what is 30 divided by 6? 5. Okay. Okay. I think that's, so we can kind of understand, are you guys good? You can see how I'm getting the GCF out. It's not as intimidating as it might be. Now, between these 3 problems, number 2, number 3, number 4, which one would you guys like to do? Number 4? Okay. So we ignore the GCF. We know that the GCF is going to show up in our final answer. We know over here when we get to our final answer, we're going to have the GCF of 4, and then we're going to have our 2 sets of parentheses. So it's going to show up in our final answer. But as far as the rest of the problem, we get to ignore the GCF, and we get to pretend it's not even there. So to do the slide divide problem, what should we do now? We take the 3, and what do we do with it? We slide it over to the negative 30. So 3 times negative 30 is negative 90. So we're looking for 2 numbers that multiply to negative 90 but add to 13. 2 numbers that multiply to negative 90 but add to 13. Okay, so I'm going to hit my y equals button. I'm going to type negative 90 divided by x. And then I'm going to hit second graph. So I'm looking for 2 numbers that multiply to negative 90 but add to 13. Yeah. Negative 6 and 15. You're close, but that would add to 9. We want to add to 13. Negative 5 and 18 would add to 13. So these multiply to negative 90 and they add to 13. So negative 5 and 18. Oops. Negative 5 and 18. Okay. So we're going to have x minus 5, x plus 18. There's our two parentheses. And now what do we do? Divide by 3. So the number that we slid was a 3, so we're going to divide by 3. And then if you look at your fractions, can 5 over 3 be reduced? No. So if it can't be reduced, what do you do with it? Yeah, move the bottom up. So what would this fraction become? 3x minus 5. Okay, so that parenthesis is done. And then what about this fraction? What does this fraction become? 6. So x plus 6. Okay, and then what answer is that? Yeah, it's S. It's right here. It's answer S. So number 3 is S. Okay. If you look at the problems that are still left on the paper, 5, 6, 7, and 8. 5, 6, 7, and 8. Is there a problem on there that feels intimidating? 5? 7? 7? Okay, do we want to do number 5 or number 7? Number 7? Number 7? Yeah? Okay. So let's look at number 7. We want to find the GCF first. So how do we find the GCF? Okay, we're going to take 122 and we're going to take 66. And we're going to plug them in. Let's see what they have in common. They only have a 2 in common. Okay, so these two numbers only had a 2 in common. The smaller number is a 52. Does 52 divide by 2? Okay, so we can for sure take out a 2. And then if you look here, I can see x's in all of the terms as well. Can we take an x out of all of the terms? We can take one x out of all of the terms. So we're going to have to take an x out as well. Okay, so 52 divided by 2, 26. It was x to the third, but I took out one x. So what is it now? X to the second. Okay. Next is 122 divided by 2, 61. It was x to the second, but I took an x out. So it's just x, okay? And then we have 66 divided by 2, 33. And I had an x and I took it out, so I don't even have to write it this time. Okay? Now, over here we know that in our final answer, we're going to have a GCF of 2x in front of our parentheses. So I'm going to have 2x and then I'm going to have 2 sets of parentheses. But for now, I get to ignore my GCF when I do the problem. Okay, so what should I do? 26 times 33. These are going to be big numbers. Okay, 858. So I'm looking for what multiplies to an 858, but adds to a 61. Multiplies to an 858, but adds to 61. So what should I be typing on my calculator? Y equals screen. 858 divide by x. And then second graph And these are all negative, so I'm going to go to the positive side. I want to add up to 61. These are adding up into the hundreds. That's way too big. Adding up to 61. I'm ignoring my decimals. This adds up to over 100 still, so I'm ignoring it. Ignoring my decimals. Did you find it? 22 and 39. Okay, let's get down there. Okay, 22 and 39 would be 50 and 11, 61. Okay, 22 and 39. Okay, so we're going to have x plus 22, x plus 39. And then what do we do? Okay, so we take the number that we slid and we divide by that number we slid. And I don't know about you guys, but reducing these fractions is going to be a lot for me to think about. So how could I use my calculator to reduce the fractions for me? I'm going to do green button, alpha y equals. Now let me get out of this screen first. So to get out of this screen first, I'm going to hit second mode. Second mode gets me out of that and back to the normal screen. So I'm going to hit alpha y equals 22 over 26 reduces to 11 over 13. Okay. And then the other one is 39 over 26. Which reduces to 3 over 2. Okay, and then what do we do with those reduced fractions? We do what? Bring the bottom up. So 13x plus 11 and 2x plus 3. And can you guys find what letter is our answer? T. Yep, right there. T. So number 7 is T. Okay. All right, so this is what we're going to work on for the rest of the period today, and then when you're done, you can turn it in. So by the time you finish this period, or you can turn it in tomorrow, that's fine too, you should have the front and the back of this assignment finished, okay? All right, how many people need a copy of this worksheet? I know, 2? 3? Yes. Bathroom, okay. So 2 copies? Okay, yes.